Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Power Hour with me, Ron Harris, and of course, all the way from across the Atlantic Ocean, Giles Tiger Thomas. This week we're going to be talking about things we'd like to see come back to bodybuilding to make bodybuilding great again. The Detroit Pro, big show that deserves a little bit of recognition this week. And of course, some new tours happening. Giles is putting together with Wesley Vissers and another one coming with Ronnie Coleman. So let's introduce the man himself, the Tiger, Giles Thomas. What's up, Giles?
I'm doing very well, Ron. A couple of months ago, I was complaining about having not enough to do, and now, well, I'm not actually complaining, but it's like I do have kind of almost like my days now are so packed and so varied and so like they veer off all over the place because calls come in and things you got to deal with, and I felt like when I was just doing purely media work, you're in control of it. You decide what to write, what to post, what to edit, what to film, who to film, when you want to do it. But now things are like with these tours and all these different things that I'm doing, and it's more chaotic, but it's good. It really keeps you on your toes, and it's really kind of woken me up, you know. This weekend, obviously, forgot to mention before we started filming, off to Sweden this weekend, mate, for the NPC Sweden for GASP.
Wow, the NPC, is that a pro qualifier? Oh, the GASP.
Yeah, pro cards, pro cards. I did remember in 22, me and Lauren went over and did the live stream. Then last year, my bloody passport didn't come through, so we didn't let down GASP. Lauren went kind of on behalf of both of us, and she stepped up and did the live stream with Mina Pajulati and Ashkan. I forgot his last name. Ashkan Agili, who does the like a podcaster, sort of like a Dutch version of us.
Dutch version. Well, you know, I always say Miguel Chain is the Brazilian version of us. I'm the American version of us. You're the UK version of us. Here we go. So,
well, that's how I emailed you when I first emailed you, and I said I sent you a fanboy email, and I said, "Hi, my name's Giles Thomas. I'm the British version of you," and you said, "Well, maybe I'm the American version. I'm the American Giles Thomas."
Yeah, and look, it turned out exactly that way.
Yeah.
Brothers from some other mother. So let's get into it, man. I want to talk about some things because we've both been around this business for many years, and some things that existed earlier on in our careers that are no longer part of the industry, part of the sport, part of the judging. I want to start off with one thing we both feel very strongly about. When we started covering bodybuilding and attending pro bodybuilding shows, the posing round was actually scored. And at some point they decided, nah, we're not going to do that anymore. And we saw a drastic decline in the quality of the posing routines. People, now that it wasn't being judged, you saw a lot of guys put no effort into it, to the point where now a lot of guys show up at these contests and it's very obvious they don't even have a routine. They just wing it. They go from one end of the stage to the other, hitting like a crab, a double by, a side check. It's kind of disappointing because we want that entertainment, that presentation. You know, we used to really look forward to seeing certain people. And if you look at old Olympias and old Arnold Classics, you'll see, especially in Olympias, 20, 30 years ago, almost everybody had a really polished, excellent routine. And now you'd be lucky if you can remember more than 2 or 3 routines from any given Olympia contest. So what do you think, man? Do you think it's possible we could get it back? Should we get it back?
Well, like you said, I mean, if you want to sort of some perspective, go that 1991 Olympia, your first ever Olympia. Go watch that video or whatever you can find it online. Watch every single posing routine of that top 15, and then compare it to last year's Olympia. I mean, it's not even. I mean, I think the 1991 Lee Labrada routine. I think that's at the top of my list for the greatest posing routine of all time.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's that was kind of one of just many. I mean, you could have argued that the best posing routine of all time was also in that same show was Vince Taylor.
Yes.
With the Terminator. I mean, it's like that was in the same show, and that was 33 years ago. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know. I don't know really. I think there's a good argument for like when Bob Chick used to say, well, how do you judge opposing? How do you judge the guy who comes out first, who might be in first place or second place, and the guy who comes out last 15 athletes later that is first or second place? And how do you then decide? How do you remember? How do you compare? Do you know what I mean? So I do get the argument from the judges of like, well, how the hell do we judge it? How can you compare when it's one after the other? And it's hard to. And what do you judge on? The artistry of the posing routine, because some bodybuilders can't do a headstand or dance, or some can't do transitions like Lee Labrada. Some can't I mean, who's really the best poser at the moment? Who would you say, apart from Rough Diesel in the Classic? That's the one immediately springs to mind. But who would you have in the Open that really? I thought Derek Lunsford's routine was very good at the Olympia last year. That was for me what pipped him, along with a raidable bicep, over Hadi.
He's good. Samson's a very accomplished poser.
Yeah.
Samson, yeah. I like Antoine Vaillant for the drama that he brings to it with all those flourishes and hand movements and things like that. But generally speaking, the classic guys as a whole are better posers than the open bodybuilders, for sure. I mean, I can't think of that. I really can't think of too many open bodybuilders that have routines I can remember that really excite, make you want to watch. Because you remember, we used to go to these shows, and just going back to like the Kai Green days, you talk about people doing headstands. You always look forward to seeing guys like Darren Charles or Kai Green, because King Kamali back in the day, just because it was going to be an exciting routine. You always knew that they were going to put something together worth watching. Where now I can appreciate the physiques, but the routines are very lackluster for the most part. But the thing I think is the biggest obstacle in the way of judging it is, what are you judging? Are you judging the posing and the physique together, or as separate entities? Because I could outpose a lot of the guys on the Mr. Olympia stage. Does that mean I would beat them in the posing round? Probably not, right? I mean, so where do you stand on that? What would, if you're bringing it back and they say, Giles, the judges say, what are we looking for here? Are we looking for posing artistry and skill? Are we looking for the physique and how it's displayed? What do you want us to be judging here?
Well, like I said at the start, it's like, like I said, Bob Chick used to put this very argument up, and he makes a very, very good point that how do you compare someone? I mean, you can sort of judge someone, like you could give a routine and say, oh, that was a 9 out of 10, that was a 7 out of 10, that was a 10 out of 10. But then how do you then put them over? Do you know what I mean? How do you judge it in terms of who places where in the overall contest? It's very, very hard. I mean, I don't really. It's one of those questions I can't really answer. But if one thing I don't get that I don't think the guys have really cottoned onto, if you look at it from, I mean, I started following the sport in 1990. That 91 Olympia, the 90s Olympias, we were all, you were there. My first Olympia was 2001. And even then the routines were absolutely incredible. But steadily they've just regressed. Steadily. They got worse and worse and worse and worse. And what I don't get is what guys like Samson do get is that. When you get to levels of this sport, like I said, I got a bit of shit for saying Hadi's posing routine. He had no posing routine at Olympia when he was the current Mr. Olympia, and obviously going to defend his title. Yeah. He come in with like a little bit of soft back. He didn't really have a good tan. It's like people say, oh, you're being sort of, harsh and stuff. It's like, yeah, but no, when it's this close, like it was between him and Derek, you leave the door open for things. For basically the guy, chasing you to kind of usurp you, which is exactly what Derek Lunsford did. Mm-hmm. He took advantage of the things that, so things like a good posing routine. Why wouldn't you want to? And there is tiny little, like Hadi and Samson at the RUK. It was like there was a couple of first places, like you said, for Samson. Yeah. It's very, very close. Why wouldn't you just try and think, okay, well, if it's close and we literally are neck and neck and the judges are like, bringing us out again and moving us around and they can't decide, why would you not want, because you're only on stage. I mean, I'd love to know exactly the exact amount of time, say, the average Open Pro is on stage for. Like, is it 15, 20, 30 minutes?
Well, I mean, the routine itself. Yeah, but it's the only chance that you have to show yourself individually with all your best poses. Like, someone going way back, Frank Zane was always known as being able to showcase his strong points and sort of deflect your attention away from his weak points. So if you have that opportunity, because nobody's perfect, everybody has flaws. Why wouldn't you want to really push that in people's minds? Yeah. Look at this pose. Look at this pose. Oh, don't look at that. Don't look at that.
I remember I was interviewing Steve Kuklo about 3 years ago it was, and I said, mate, I was getting onto him on his case about doing a good posing routine because he just did the quad slap and that and the most muscular. And then it was at one of the I think it was one of the Arnold Classics. He came out and he did about a minute of a really nicely choreographed posing routine, and then he went back into old form and the heavy metal and like Branch Warren, want to get psycho and all that. It was that kind of music. And I said to him, I said, look, I want to give you credit because I said at least you're halfway there now, mate. I said. But look how good that was for you to see you doing a nice, choreograph, nice transitions. Do you not see the value in that? Do you not see the benefit? I mean, I I mean, it's funny. What's the oh gosh, I can't remember his name now. The Patrick Moore.
Yeah,
Patrick Moore. I mean, his career since that 2019 Olympia when he got 10th really kind of hasn't really. It's fallen off a lot. But the one thing, like if he never competes again, the one thing I'm going to remember is that routine that he did at the 2019 Olympia. I mean, him and Brandon, are the two routines that really stuck in my head because, you know, it was close between him, Bonac, and Hadi for that top three. Remember in 2019, you know, because obviously Sean Roden wasn't there, Ramy wasn't there, Phil wasn't there, and it was the posing routine that kind of really like stuck in my head, you know. But like I say, with Brandon, he came out and it was like if there was any doubt. It was when he came out within the first 20 seconds of posing routine where I thought, yes, I think Brandon's got this because he came out and he commanded the stage. And it's not just about good posing. I mean, it doesn't really take long to put a good posing routine together either. I mean, you know, if you work on it at the start of your prep and, you know, plus it's good to pose and practice your posing and hold your poses. But another thing, I feel like I've completely lost your question there. I completely lost it, but I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here. So, but what I was saying about like how long you're on stage for. Another thing that really bugs me is when you look across the lineup, the guys are just letting their stomachs hanging out, their legs are relaxed, and you seem to see Lita Brada.
Yes.
And I just don't understand how everyone doesn't do that. Like when you're on stage, you know, it's like guys who sort of get criticized for letting their gut go in transitions. You know, the judges are still watching. Yeah. You know, oh, it looks good in the pose. Yeah, but the judges are watching you, and like they're trying to find flaws to give an excuse to get the other guy. Do you know what I mean? It's not about who has the most strengths. It's about who has the least weaknesses. Yeah. And I think if you tick every single box, then like posing, and the thing is like you work so hard on diet and training and then they literally just walk out on stage and just hit a few poses like they're guest posing. And I just do not get it. And that is why I think it's part of say 6 or 7 reasons why Samson is not just doing as well as he's doing, but why he's so popular, why he has the cues, because, you know, you can see that he's not leaving any stone unturned.
You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger used to say, Giles, that he would pose for an hour a day after every workout. And that was very, very common back in that era. And modern pros, when they hear that, they sort of shake their head and say, that's ridiculous, an hour a day. But when you think about all the time you spend training, doing cardio, eating, I mean, is really another hour a day mastering your craft and mastering your presentation for that brief window of time you're going to be on stage. Is that really excessive? I don't think so. Do you? No.
Well, if it's your job, it's your job. I mean, I think guys nowadays do think more cardio. They do. Back in the day, I don't think they would like. I remember speaking to Sibu Sisu, you know, Katello, the South African pro, and he said, like, you know, I'm almost like living my life as if I'm Mr. Olympia with the like a proper sort of top level sportsman, you know, like some of these footballers where literally they're not just going and playing an hour of football and practicing and then coming home, they're going to the chiropractor, they're going to get soft tissue, they're going to get, and now we've got all these things like the sauna and the bath treatments. And, you know, like my friend of mine, he's got a plunge bath thing in his house, and then he's got the infrared sauna. I mean, he's quite wealthy, he's got a lot of money, you know, but he does all that just for his health, and he does his cardio in his beautiful home gym. But like a lot of these pros now, I think there's a lot more to being a pro. Like you used to see in Pumping Iron, they'd be training in the morning, you know, and then they go on the beach, and then they go have some lunch, have a steak and some potato, and you know, and then they'd go back and train in the evening or something. But I think there's more to being a pro, and I think maybe that would be. I'm just thinking in terms of how the pros would see it. You know, it's like really, and you know, the training, and plus the guys are bigger. Maybe they're putting more they're more taxing on their bodies. Maybe they have to eat more than the guys did years ago. I don't know. I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to see it from their point of view of why they would not see the value in posing. But then again, you know, what I don't get is the ones that do put the effort in, they do seem to reap the rewards. And now we've got things like best posing awards, and thing is, why would you not want to stand out for the right reasons? Like I mean, I was driven by crippling insecurity, because when I competed the first few shows, I got really shredded. Like I knew I wouldn't be the biggest. I knew I wouldn't, but I knew I could have the best presentation, probably the best conditioning, and things like little things like the tanning and stuff, which obviously I had a lot of knowledge on from, you know, working in the media. You know, you got to try and, you know, sneak out every advantage that you can, you know. And like I said, when it gets to the Olympia, when it gets to those kinds of levels, you know, these tiny little details can make the difference between first and bloody fourth. And if you're at the Olympia, the difference between first and fourth isn't just a Sandown winning the Olympia could be like 300 grand, you know? So come on, guys, you know, just put the effort in and be more like Samson.
Well, we would all like to be more like Samson in some ways.
Yeah.
So, I have a couple like trivial things I'd like to see come back, but do you have anything like in the actual competitive side or the judging side that you'd like to see return?
Oh, I didn't think about this. I mean, they don't really do the symmetry round anymore, do they? The quarter turns.
Yeah, Milos has said that too.
Yeah, I used to like. I mean, I remember the 90s Olympias. I mean, like Dorian had a really nice quarter turn because they had really nice detailed intercostals and serratus and stuff, which always looked him, Sean Ray, Kevin Navrone. I think the one who had the worst quarter turn was Ronnie. I think that just wasn't his pose.
Wow.
But like Dorian, Sean Ray, when they turned to the side, they looked Lila Brada. They had these beautiful quarter turns. And I don't know. I suppose they've obviously got a reason that they don't really need it to judge a physique. I wonder why they removed it. What's your feelings?
Yeah, so let me explain to people what that means. So there was actually a round where it was just the quarter turns and it was judged. It was on the score sheet, symmetry round, and then muscularity round was the next round where they did the mandatory poses. Now what we see is initially in the judging, they come out in groups where they do quarter turns, but also a couple poses. It's really just for the judges to get an initial assessment so they can make some notes on who they want to see in their call-outs in a few minutes. But we don't have that anymore. Yes, the symmetry round used to give an opportunity for people to really showcase without posing. You're still you are posing. You're holding everything tense, but it gave you a way to appreciate the physiques just as they stood, arms down, the X frame, the V taper, the proportions, all that, the structure before you started getting into poses. And just like the posing round, maybe they just decided it was too much. I wonder it was as more divisions got added, they needed to speed up the judging process.
Yeah, they would have got rid of it for a reason. I mean, they probably would have deliberated and really, because I suppose it comes down to the fact from a judge's point of view, is it going to help them be better judges and judge a physique better? Because it's like, we're doing it looking at it for symmetry. Well, you can still look at something for symmetry when someone's doing a frontable bicep or a rearable bicep. You can still see the whole. In fact, you can see more of what's going on because they're actually lifting their arms up or they're actually flexing. Yeah. When they're like kind of relaxed, it's only really the quads and the abs that are really being kept tight. So I suppose I can see why they got rid of it. And like I said, like you say, with all the divisions, that was probably the reason why.
True. Some weird things I'd like to see come back. Fanny packs. I had one. I don't know if you had fanny packs.
Yeah, with my Walkman and all my cassettes.
Yeah, I mean, it's now we see things like the man purse that goes across the shoulder. I don't think that looks any less silly than a fanny pack around the waist. Now the only people you see fanny packs are like tourists walking around at Disneyland or something. But man, I had all kinds of stuff. You could put your wallet in there, your phone. Ooh. My pager was my pager was clipped on the side.
Wow.
Put a protein bar in there. Your keys.
Fun fact: 01426320647. That's the number of my pager I had in 1995.
Wow, you still remember that?
£16 a month I paid for it because actually, like a BT, like an actual like woman will put. Sorry. A person would answer, typically a woman, and then they would say, "What's your message?" And then they type it out for the person. Then I used to get it on that's when I started on my magazine work around 95, and that's what I got. I love my pager. I love that thing. It looks so cool as well at the time. Back in the 90s, I was like the man, because it was before. It was a good few years before mobile phones really. Right. Like I got my first mobile phone in 99, and so did most of my friends 98, 99. Yep. But most of us, like when I had a pager in 95, I was really, really, really ahead of the game.
I remember my first mobile phone was about this big. It was like a brick. So I know it's fashion. I actually wore them way past their expiration date. I can remember it was probably about 2005 or 6. I was in a Blockbuster video.
Blockbuster. Oh my God, you're really going back in time now.
And I had my fanny pack on, and a group of like tweens, like 11, 12, 13-year-old girls were laughing, and one of them pointed and said, "Fanny pack alert, fanny pack alert."
And you're like, oh wow.
So I had to retire it.
Sorry, quickly, while I remember, I got a little memory that pops into my head. Back in when we did the Ashley Coltwasser Olympia All-Star Tour in 21, she brought Cara Jones from Angel Competition Bikinis, like the biggest like competition bikini company. So, Ashley sponsored. She wanted to come along and try and just basically just come along. It was the first time outside of America, and we all went to the gym together. And I had my little iPod. Nano, is it Nano? Tiny, but that big.
Yeah, the
blue
Nano
thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it since around 2011, and I mean, it's got all my music on it. And she started laughing, and she says, "Oh my God, how old school!" And I went, "What do you mean? This is cutting edge." And it's like, one thing I don't understand is like, people listen to music in the gym, but they got their phones, which is obviously distracting because then they're going to go onto social media, which is half the problem in gyms nowadays, with people on social media and checking their phone and not being fully immersed and really concentrating on their training. And it's like they listen to my music through my phone, but I'm too worried about dropping or smashing it when you're training. You know, I like the iPod. I like it because I said to Lauren, I said, I might get another one. I said, because if I lose this one, I'm screwed. It's got all my music on it. But it's like tiny. It's perfect size. Yeah. You can fit. I mean, I've probably not even filled half of it, and I've got like all my music on it, literally all my music. But I do think they should come back. I think they should come back. Because I remember having this titanium. It was quite expensive at the time. There's this Walkman, and it was like silver, and it had like you could either have a normal battery, which had a pack on the bottom, or it had like a rechargeable battery, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. So
you make a good point, because everything's I listen to music when I train and do cardio, and it's the phone, and like you said, I'm seeing notifications constantly. God. WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook, and like,
never. You'll never see my phone on the gym floor. Never ever. I always put it in the gym bag, and never. In fact, Lauren's done. We've been training. Me and Lauren have been training together recently, and she's been doing a little sneaky 5-second videos when I've been training, and she did one other night. Be on Friday night doing preacher curls. And I had no idea, because I hate the tripod thing. I hate the whole phones in gyms thing. I hate it. I hate all of that. Unless, I was doing a bit of filming for Lauren on her phone, but she's getting ready for a show. She looks absolutely incredible. So I just about gave her a pass on that one.
I think that's fine. I mean, if you're using it to film content or whatever.
It's fine. But it's like, if it's just sort of general stuff on tripods, it annoys me. That kind of trend, I'd like to be able to push back into the sea if possible.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, it's the genie's out of the bottle. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Last thing I would love to see come back, and good luck, Ron. Magazines.
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up knowing when each magazine would hit the newsstand. I would be at the store every certain day of the month. Okay, this is when Flex comes out, Iron Man, Muscle Mag, Muscular Development, and I would buy them. I would buy them all, and I would just have this rush. Like, I couldn't wait to get home and read them cover to cover. And we had to wait months for contest coverage back then. It was a good 6 weeks on average.
So and the rest. Well, but in the UK, it was even longer.
Yeah, but I mean, there was that really built an excitement and anticipation around it, because you couldn't wait to see those pictures, but you had to wait. You had to wait anywhere from a month to 2 months to see pictures of the Arnold Classic, the Mr. Olympia, the Night of Champions. Mm-hmm. But man, it got us so fired up, and just to be able to hold it in your hand and turn the pages, just physically holding. I don't like to read books on tablets or phones or anything like that. It drives me insane. I'm sitting there with a book turning pages. But yeah, I know magazines, print magazines, they had a great run of about 150 years or whatever it was. I don't see them possibly coming back to the prominence that they used to have, but man, I'd love to see that. I know you would too.
Personally, I think, I was with Jake because I did obviously the live stream with him in Romania. Yeah. And I think this was either 21 or 22, and went to the after party. But it was just a room with some free drinks and stuff. And I was sat with Jake because he likes his red wine as well, so I was topping him up. Yeah. And I said to him, because he was telling me when he bought the Olympia off Pekka, David Pekka, and how much he paid for it and the deal he got, and Pekka wasn't happy because Jake says, okay, then I'll give you this much, but I want Flex and Muscle and Fitness thrown in as well. And Pekka was annoyed that he wasn't going to be a publisher. He said to Pekka, look, I've got no interest in being a publisher, but I want the names, I want the Instagram accounts, the social media, I want that brand. It's part of the Olympia. It'll help everything we're doing with the Olympia and everything we do, because it's a business. And I said to him, because when I see him in November, I'm going to say to him, because I know they do, because when the last issue of MD, I did an article about Bumstead, if you remember. Yeah. Which never got used, because we were going to put Bumstead on the final cover, which which never went ahead. Right. So I spoke to Dan about that, and he says, "Oh, look, we don't." He says, "Well, if you've still got the article," he says, "I mean, anything on the the chosen one, the golden child, I mean, that wasn't his word, but my word. I'm just elaborating here.
Right.
He said, send it in. He says, because Muscle and Fitness, they do still print. I mean, I would love to see, like, you telling me that 4 issues a year of Flex or Muscle and Fitness, I mean, separately, not together.
Yeah.
You're telling me that that wouldn't, if it was promoted well enough and you got enough advertisers to at least cover the costs, of the staff and the printing costs and stuff like that. Are you telling me that, especially if they were available at events and that it was tied in somehow with the shows and ticket prices and and some sort of if you're there and the athletes are there and you can get them to sign it? You're telling me that, like, if they coincided like an issue with a certain show that was going to be available, they had pictures of all the athletes and then everyone went and tried and get them signed. Do you know the cost of the cross promotion for ticket sales and magazine sales? I just think there's something there that could at least they, I mean, I know it's there to make money, but it's more of a promotional thing. Yeah. It's like my Ronnie tours. I mean, there was some of them, they were like, they were happy they broke even. They're like, this is huge advertising for us. Like the benefits, not just in terms of profit, but in terms of promotion, I think there's room for something like that. I mean, what do you think? I'd love to see 4 issues of Flex a year. I'd certainly buy it.
Hell yeah! I mean, at the last Olympia, they had a print issue of Muscle and Fitness, and I thought the plan at that point was to move forward with quarterlies of that. I haven't heard about it, but I mean, why not?
Like like you see annuals. Sorry to interrupt. Like you see annuals, of like comics and well, mostly comics and stuff, but like an annual, and then do a quarterly version.
Yeah, I mean, at least an annual, like like a People magazine or Us magazine. They do like the year in review. I see them at the checkouts at the grocery stores, and they're like that thick. And they obviously they wouldn't print them if people weren't buying them.
Yeah.
Flex was a huge brand for years, and Muscle and Fitness. My goodness, every grocery checkout in America had a stack of those there. So.
But Ron, I was chatting to, I mean, Frank Seppi called me yesterday because I was uploading. I wanted the he was going to upload he wanted me to resend the WeTransfer link for the Ronnie Tour video, which I've literally posted on my Facebook, tagged you in, and and he was forgot my point now. What was I saying?
Magazines, bring back the magazines.
Oh, I can't remember. Whatever.
Okay,
on, next.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, Frank Seppi. Yeah, Frank Seppi, and obviously Frank Seppi's kind of on the Olympia. I don't know whether he's actually a paid member of staff. I'm sure he is because he said he does quite a lot. And you've got all these staff members that have got skills to be able to write, and there's still all the photographers are still out there working at the events, and I'm sure they could do a deal with the amount of people that are still active in the industry that could be like writers like us, writers, photographers, reporters, columnists, that could podcasters that could. They wouldn't. Some of these podcasters would probably do like a 2-page promotional column for their podcast, and they'd basically just say, "Look, do it for free, and we'll give you." It's basically free advertising for your podcast. All these influencers, these who've got huge sponsorship contracts. You could say, "Okay, then advertise with a magazine, but we'll give you a column as well." I'm sure if there was a small team of people that really had the imagination to pull this together. I'm sure. I'll do it. You would be able to, honestly. I would, with what I'm doing with the Olympia All-Star Tours, and that's blowing up now. Like if Jake said to me, like, do you want to help us out a little bit, and we'll give you some promotion for the tours? I'd be like, yeah, just count me in, mate. Yeah.
I mean, I'd write for Flex. Come on now. I wrote.
MD.
I wrote for MD, which was the biggest rival for many years. Obviously,
you never wrote for Flex, did you?
No, I did one for Muscle and Fitness in the '90s. It was like 97 or 98. It was I can't even remember what it was about, but it was a whole Dave Tuttle, a guy named Dave Tuttle, who I knew from Ironman, was briefly, I believe he was briefly the editor-in-chief of Muscle and Fitness, or anyway. Yeah. So I did write for Muscle and Fitness once, and it was very, very long time ago. It was one article.
I had 2 years working because they did when I left MD in 2013. Well, Steve let me go actually because I wanted like a proper monthly salary instead of being paid and all that. So I was trying to negotiate. And he said no, we were kind of downscaling at the time anyway. Yeah. So and then 2 weeks later, I was being asked to go to the Weeder offices, which were based actually in Harrogate, which is probably like an hour and a quarter away from my house.
Oh wow!
So they sat me down and they said, look, we'll start you off doing a column called European Muscle, and I was like, yeah, brilliant, because I love doing the columns. I love all the new, obviously, news and I did for MD for since 2010. And then pretty soon I was writing articles because I was putting suggestions forward. I did William Bonac, Flex Lewis. Sean Roden, I think I did as well. And, you know, and then I just kind of went from there. And then in 2017, as you know, I came back with MD 2018 and all that. But again, I forgot my point now. Keep going, tangents.
It's all right. Well, let's move on. Move on, because I want to talk real briefly, at least, about the Detroit Pro that happened over the past weekend. It wasn't the inaugural, because there was a Detroit Pro in 1992, but this was the first Detroit Pro-Am. They only had one division for pros. It was open men.
It's unusual.
And, you know, Fouad Abiad, the promoter. You all right, Giles?
So, yeah, I'm really bugging my shoulder. I keep leaning on it. It's like I'm really, I'm in agony at the moment. Yeah.
So sorry about that. But Fouad, he went out of his way to sort of fulfill some requests that people had made. People had said, we want to see a plain black curtain for a backdrop again, which the last show I can recall having that was 2019 Vancouver Pro, the Hadi Chupan. Yeah. And before that, gosh, you'd have to go back probably decades. It's all the big LED screens. So he did that, which looked fantastic, and he upped the prize money. The minimum, he didn't have to offer any more than $15,000 for first prize. That's the new league minimum.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's a new minimum.
So it's gone up from 10.
Right. So what, $25,000 for first prize. I don't know what the breakdown after that was. And an additional 3 $2,500 prizes for different things. I think like best poser or most muscular. It was to honor, one was for John Meadows, one was for Luke Sando, one for Cedric McMillan. May they all rest in peace. So he was giving out some good money. And again, he did a bang-up job with the lighting, if you've seen the videos and pictures. But they only got 6 men in the show, which is very disappointing. It's like, if you pros are going to make demands and we give you what you want, but you still won't compete, you know, what's the point? The only other guy that would have been in the show was Tony O'Burton, who waited until too late to request entry. And I guess Tyler and Jim said, no, it's too late. You passed the deadline. I think he waited till like Thursday to try to jump in the show. But the point is, what do you think about that? That Fouad did do a really good job on a first-time promotion and still failed to attract some good numbers of competitors.
I mean, in the end, it was a good show. And you had, like I said, that top 2 were absolutely incredible with Vito and Martin. Ended up being really good. And third and fourth were very good. You had the British guy, Harry Harrison, 5th. But yeah, I'm disappointed. And also, it doesn't really fit in with, like, somebody put a post up about how many pro cards there are, you know, active at the moment, how many have come from different countries. And it's just a staggering number, you know, and it's like, how can you have more pro cards than ever? And you finally got this ability to actually step up and say, okay, I'm a pro now, so I'm going to test myself and I want to compete as a pro. And yet we've got shows like this putting on good prize money, really sort of trying to go above and beyond to keep everyone happy and also appease the fans and, you know, and the athletes who want to be looking their best. Because you just said there, 2019 Vancouver, was that the best Hadi's like potentially ever looked, or was it just because it had great lighting and a black background? That's what's making me think now, because I'm thinking, oh, Vancouver's so much better than the 2019 Olympia. But I bet if you actually put, like, say there were some backstage photos with the same backdrop, they might be exactly the same Hadi's. Do you know what I mean? So I'm starting making me think actually there is something to this black background thing, because I noticed all the comments. I was like, guys, it's a black background. It's not that big a deal. But then when you compare it to like the 2021 Olympia, remember when Hadi came out with all pointy shoulders at the judging?
Yes.
I mean, that was epilepsy inducing. Seriously, like it was. I kind of got what people were complaining about when that happened. But so what was the point? Detroit. Yeah, you should have had better support. I don't understand. And also, let's get on the subject of Tony O'Burton. Why didn't he do this show? Because
like I said, he did try, but he waited too long.
Why?
Exactly. Because remember, we recorded last week, and I said I had a text message into him, and he didn't get back to me till a few hours after we stopped recording. He said he was thinking about it. They want to make sure he can bring the same package or better. I'm like, what's there to think about? Come on.
Okay. Let's. Okay. So I mean, I heard it was on that podcast he did earlier in the week. I haven't watched the podcast, but I did see a snippet saying, I can beat Nick Walker. Now, you and I know there's no chance that he's going to beat Nick Walker at the New York Pro. Let's just be blatantly honest. I mean, this is what there's not a single person, maybe apart from Tony, that actually believes that. There's no way so the best he's going to hope for is second. Now, he ain't going to get a qualification. Yes, he was 8th place at the Olympia. He's moving up. But like he could have won this show, really. I mean, I think he probably would have beat Martin. He beat Vito comfortably the week before.
Right.
So he's probably, So now he's got another 4 weeks of prep to get ready for a show that the best realistically, I mean, miracles can happen. I'm not saying it can't happen, but let's be honest. Let's put it out there. He ain't going to get higher than second. So he's not going to qualify there. And I understand he wants to defend his title. But like I said, you're going up against Nick Walker. It's like, I'm not the biggest Nick fan, but I know how good he is. I completely acknowledge that. He's not beating him. There's levels to this industry. There's levels to this sport. So then what? I mean, I know there's the M-Pro Classic in June, but he's going to have to go up against Krizo, who beat him at the Olympia and is only getting better. And then you got Beruz. So he's going to have to go all the way to Spain and do what? Another 4 weeks of prep. Yeah. And then, he's still got to qualify. So what then? Where does he go now? So what I'm saying is, potentially, by him missing Detroit, we might not even see Tonio in the Olympia this year. And this is why I think it's smart to choose your shows. And also, do a few shows back to back. I mean, this is where the point system would have come in handy. Because right now he would probably be, hang on. He'd be doing really well on points. Do you know what I mean? He could go and get, second at New York and then do another show and then probably still make it to the Olympia. But now it's like, why did he leave it so late? And why did he choose? I mean, has he got some issues with Fuad? I mean, this is what I'm thinking. There must be some logical, sane reason why he didn't do this show.
I mean, I'm only passing along third-hand things I read in comments on YouTube. So don't quote me as this is factual, but I heard that Tonio had been negotiating with Fuad for a hostile contract, and negotiations fell through. So maybe there might be some discord between them. Yeah, exactly.
Well, if that is true, though, then more fool him, because this is on him. He's not spiting Fuad, if it's Fuad's show, but it's still the judges that judge him. I mean, if he thinks he's not going to get a fair shake, or he thinks this is a bit like, when Kai Green thought he had the Olympia by the balls, do you know what I mean, in 2015 with the I want a trade stand and I'll not do the Olympia otherwise, and I won't sign. And then in the end, that was the last we ever saw of Kai Green at the Olympia. Right. Do you know what I mean? And basically his career after the Arnold Classic in 2016 was over, and this is a guy that probably could have gone on to the Olympia. So sometimes you have to sort of, pick your shows, think about what's right for you as an athlete, and not leave things to the last minute. So there's something not adding up there.
Yeah, we're just speculating. I guess Fuad had made. Someone said Fuad. I don't listen to Fuad's podcast, not because I don't like him or anything. It's just that I don't have time to listen to all these podcasts. They're hours and hours and hours every day. You'd be doing that. Fuad said, if that's the case with anybody that doesn't like me, just come and take my money. Yeah,
exactly.
So come on, take my money. But
I mean, who are you really spiting? If that was your reason, and it was because you had beef with Fuad, who are you really spiting? The only person who's spiting is yourself. You literally, I think if it's something like that was the reason, then he's literally just thrown 25K down the toilet. No disrespect to Martin, but I think he would have beat Martin. I think he would have. He's at a slightly higher level.
Right. So let's give a little props to Martin and to Vito. I thought they both looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And for once, it wasn't an apples versus orange. It was apples and oranges. It was apples and apples. I think they had very comparable physiques. They're both on the shorter side, massive legs, stacked with muscle. I gave the show to, I think you said the same thing. I gave the show to Martin based on his back development, just much thicker back. That's one thing Vito really doesn't need much more. He needs more back thickness, especially down lower in the lats, in the middle, just around the spine, because Martin's got very thick, even development, the whole back, and a little more upper chest, because, good Lord, Vito's legs are insane. They're some of the best legs in the sport right now, especially from the back. They look twice as wide as Martin's. I know they're not. Martin's got huge legs himself, but Vito very impressed the hell out of me with these 2 shows in a row. Any comments on Martin and Vito?
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I was really happy for Martin because I think he, like him not getting the old invite, I think it really hurt him, and because when he got, I think when he got, was it 4th or 5th at the Arnold UK back in 23?
22?
Yeah, with Andrew Jack, yeah. Was that the last time? Was it 22? Yeah, that was the last time he competed. Yeah.
Yep. 23.
It just feels longer ago. But I think he kind of expected to do better at that event, and I think it really knocked him back. And he kind of like disappeared a little bit. But it was nice to know that he's been kind of working hard and sort of made it, because I mean, he wasn't dramatically improved, but he brought a nice package. I mean, and do you know what? This was something else I was thinking about. Do you think there's an argument sometimes for coming in too full? Like people go about fullness is the holy grail, but you know what? I mean, I remember my first show backstage, I felt so flat. But when I look in the pictures that were taken, I look full. Yeah. So a lot of it was psychological. I looked full, but I felt like all my muscle had gone. I was panicking. I was going, freaking out. But it was all in my head.
Of course.
So I think sometimes when people go, I'm going flat. Sometimes it's not necessarily a bad thing, because I know it sounds like a bit of bro science here, but I think sometimes when they come in too full, I think it almost blurs the separation.
It does. Dorian Yates has said every Olympia that he won was, he says, I was flat for every one of those 6 Mr. Olympias that I won. But who would know except for someone who saw him on a day-to-day basis all the time. Like you said, yes, muscle separation and detail. If you sacrifice some of that to be fuller, you're probably going to get your ass kicked by someone who's got better separation and detail and gave up a tiny bit of the fullness. The fullness is, people are obsessed with that.
I think so, like sometimes when he came out and he just frontal bicep, it was almost like his arms were too full and too pumped, because it looked like I mean, like when do we never look at our legs is after we've trained and it's pumped, because you lose the separation. That's my kind of, you can see where I'm trying to like piece it all together, and this is where I'm trying to get these theories from. But I mean, he looked fantastic. His midsection looked good. He looked, and like I said, I think some of the photos that were posted, I was like, I'd give it to Vito. And other ones I saw, I thought, I think Martin's going to take this. I think that readable, but it's funny though. The weird thing is Vito's kind of got the reverse of what Flex Lewis had. Flex Lewis had an unbelievable readable bicep, but a very weak rear lat spread. For me, it was a weak pose for him. Yeah. And then you've got Vito, who's got a crazy rear lat spread and a weak readable bicep. It's funny, he just lifts it up and the muscle disappears. Like the lower lats go, it's really, really, really bizarre. But I felt like it's funny in that real bicep, it always sometimes comes down to that one shot. Like it did I think that's what won Derek the Olympia. Yeah. I think that was always the lights out pose for Phil Heath when he hit that real bicep. That was the one when you and me have been there in 16, 17, 18, when he hits that pose and the crowd just goes ballistic. Yeah. It's funny that I think actually it came down to that one pose why Martin beat Vito in that readable bicep.
Yeah, shows a one from the back. Anyway, I think the reason, my theory on that is because back thickness is probably the hardest thing to get. It's the
lower lats as well.
The rarest quality that you see. You see plenty of guys with big arms, big chests, good midsections, quads. They turn to the side. A lot of guys don't have the hamstrings that you were hoping to see. And then when they hit that rear double bicep and the rear lat spread, a lot of them don't have the back thickness that you would hope to see to match everything else.
Look at Dennis Wolf and Hunter Labrada. They just never had lower leg. They don't have, and they just don't have lower lats. I mean, I think if you don't have it, it's hard to build. Like Ramy, when sometimes his lower lats, that last year in 22, it's like his lower lats are kind of almost gone. Yeah. I think Nathan Diash is starting to go on the right side as well. If you look at his lower lat insertions, it's almost like below the scapula. It's almost like there's nothing going on, It's weird. It's weird how it happens. It happened
to Ian Valliere as well.
Valliere, yeah, shit, yeah. It's weird how that part of the muscle goes. The thing is, it's quite a hard muscle to isolate because to really isolate the lower lats, you have to go a lot lighter and stricter and pull the elbow a lot lower on the body. And it's with most bodybuilders, they just want to shift heavy weight. Yeah. The upper back and the delts and the rear delts kind of take over the load. But to actually really isolate your lower lats. I mean, I was doing Smith machine underhand barbell rows, and you have to kind of use a lot, like half the weight, and you have to lean right into it. And but it's like it really, really, really hits the lower lats. But it's really, you've really got to focus and concentrate. Like really do kind of Charles Glass type training. But going to Vito quickly, Vito really impressed me because I was starting to think I hadn't written him off, but I had him pegged as a bit of an Instagram bodybuilder. I thought this is a guy that looks like Mr. Olympia on Instagram, and we're just going to be disappointed. That's why he's putting off his pro debut and all that. He's kind of he's trolling us. Do you know what I mean? I just thought he's one of them that's maybe photoshopping his pictures or doing 1,000 pictures, just pick one, and he's going to be a bit of a letdown. But he wasn't. He looked absolutely phenomenal. I think he lived up to the hype. I think his conditioning was incredible. His legs, I love seeing big legs, but really seeing them separated and hard and grainy. And I think he's really done himself proud. And I think another year or two when he fills that chest and back out, I think he's going to be absolutely, I wouldn't say unstoppable, but I think he's going to be a real force. Like I could see him in like 2 years or year or two coming out with Nick Walker and really holding his own.
Yeah, and that's why I hope, we say this all the time, I hope, Giles is in really pain.
Yeah,
I hope he shuts it down now takes off the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Takes his little break and then comes back, focuses on that back, a little bit more on the chest, but really build up that lower back thickness. Come back next spring, maybe Arnold South America, Brazil again, maybe Detroit Pro again. He's probably going to win one of those 2 shows. And, if he wants to keep pushing, he doesn't win one of those, New York Pro. But with that and with those improvements, because he's not ready for the Olympia this year. If he does the Olympia with that back, forget it. You're not in the top 15.
This is where maybe the point system gone is a good thing, because he might just carry on competing and probably make it to the Olympia, and he wouldn't make top 15. He wouldn't, not in this first year. He's got to fill that chest and back out. I think there's been, because we've seen so many guys so good so quickly, like Crizzo, like Rubiel, Nick Walker. I think now when guys turn pro, there's so much expectation on them to do well instantly and win pro shows and go straight to the Olympia and make top 10. It's very rarely that happens. Sure. And I think if you start expecting that, then it's too much pressure on the new guys. I mean, like Carlos Thomas Jr. last year, he did Texas and that was it.
Yep.
Like I interviewed him the day after in his car, and he says, "No, I'm not doing any more shows. I'm shutting it down." I was like, "Shutting it down?" He says, "Yeah, well, I need more time." He says, "I'm happy I've made my pro debut. I got my 3rd place behind Andrew and Hunter," and he was really, really happy with that. And I thought I was disappointed, but I thought actually that's smart. Yeah. And I think now for Vito, he's had a 3rd and a 2nd. He's made a statement. He could go to the next show and get 4th or 5th, or maybe even 2nd or 1st. But I think for what he's looked to, what you would want to achieve in a rookie year, in a rookie season, I think he's done it. And I think he's safe for the year now. He can just go off and just go and, and get big and train and really, get a plan of action, come back next year. And then I think there'll be so much more excitement around him for next year. Yeah. But like I said, he's like the new freak on the block. I think that Rubiel last year, Nick Walker, Carlos, Crizzo, which kind of keeps the sport exciting and it keeps it alive.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's wrap up with some discussions of the tours going on that you were putting on. You had a very successful tour with Ronnie Coleman a few weeks back. We have word that a second one is in the works, but even before that, you're going to be doing one with none other than Arnold Classic Physique Champion, Mr. Vintage Muscle himself, Wesley Vissers. So tell me about that. When's that happening and where are you guys going to be visiting?
Yeah, he reminds me of Lou Ferrigno.
Says Arnold. Yeah.
What was he thinking? Yeah, well, obviously, because I've been working on this for weeks, but I couldn't. I don't want to mention it last week because I wanted to get it locked in and kind of agreed and stuff like that. And then obviously, and plus I was still kind of, there was still stuff with the Ronnie tour still started going on, Yep. But Wesley's all organised. It's 8-day UK. I've even started to bring on sponsors on board for the tours now because his sponsor ESN, this big new company in Europe, they're sponsoring Urs, Nathan Diasha. They're putting on the Amsterdam Euro Muscle Show, a new expo and pro show in July, which I think it's not quite confirmed, but I think it's likely that me and Lauren will be doing live stream there.
Oh, nice.
Possibly Ronnie might be there as well. So at the expo, they're trying to get him. They're going through me, and I'm obviously trying to hook that up, and then that's likely when the next Ronnie tour will be, because then they basically pay for his transatlantic flights, so it makes it, profitable for everyone. So it's worth everyone doing. But Wesley, Wesley was just kind of an obvious choice, because the good thing about these tours and the good thing about Global Muscle all those years, I've had a chance to feel out who I'd want to do a tour with, but based upon how prompt they are, how polite they are, how respectful they are. You get to know them. When you interview someone 5, 6, 7 times, and you're messaging them beforehand and afterwards, and you see how they reciprocate with, promote it, and just the whole general feel. You get a kind of, you're not going in blind, Like if you went in blind, you did a tour and they're an absolute nightmare, you're stuck with them for a week. And, and the thing is, only takes one bad day of a tour, let alone one bad tour, to fuck everything up. So, and lose all momentum. Do you know what I mean? So I've been very, very careful who I've chosen. And I just knew, and so far, Wesley, like he has been every single time I've interviewed him on Global, right back to 2018, 2019, he's been an absolute, utter professional and a dream to work with and a privilege. And I'm really, really excited. I think I think we're going to do a fantastic tour with him. And I'm already turning places away now because obviously once you announce them, then other places come forward and I says, no, I'm sorry, this is, it's booked, we're done now. So we're locked in. So yes, we're doing that in May. I'm going to be in Hungary for the Fit Parade. Me and Lauren are doing a live stream there. We come back on the Sunday, day to turn around, and then I'm meeting Wesley in Scotland. Then we're working our way down to Wales and England, and then we fly him home. But really excited about this one, mate. And it's going to be good.
Yeah, and then Ronnie is already. I saw some messages between you guys that he's already planning a second tour. Any idea when you guys are going to put that together?
Yeah, I was going to read the message out, but it looks a bit like self-aggrandizing. It's like, because he's like he maybe he knows I might be screenshotting it, but I'm not going to post it anywhere. I'm going to put it on the group chat for us and stuff. But you saw what he said. It's just I don't want to brag and stuff because it's like it's kind of like personal, but at the same time I always want to kind of. I'm excited because I got to get that kind of acknowledgement from someone like Ronnie. When you've done something like a big project like that together, and you're just hoping that they're at least happy. Do you know what I mean? But that message, those 2-3 messages he sent me yesterday, it meant the world. Because it was like, right, this is giving me real confidence that I know what I'm doing, but at the same time, I know how to make the second one even better. Like it was a little thing. I put him at that Shibden at the beautiful hotel. And like looking back, the rooms were beautiful, but they weren't big enough, like his wheelchair and stuff. Like we stayed at this one hotel in Ireland, and it wasn't exactly like it was nice, but it wasn't like a 5-star hotel. But Ronnie loved it because the rooms were massive. He was like, I said, "Are you sure this hotel's all right?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I love it. This is the best one so far." He said, "Because the rooms are huge." And I was like, "Okay, as long as I know what you constitute as a good hotel room, so as long as he's happy, I'm happy, but yeah, so I was really, like I said, I won't read those messages out. It's pointless. It makes me sound.
I'll just say that I'm not going to read them out loud for you either, but I'll just say he thinks very highly of you. He was very impressed with the way the tour was run, very happy with the way it came out. He's just can't wait to work with you again. Basically, I just summarized, the whole thing pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was like, that was like my day made yesterday because I was actually messaging his business partner at the time, Brendan, about Amsterdam and trying to get him there and all that. And I said, "What's happening with that? Is it confirmed?" And because I kind of connected them all together. And then Ronnie's messages came through, and I was just like, it's nice because all that stress. I mean, it's not stress, but all that work and responsibility and pressure. It's not stress; it's pressure. It's there's a lot of you got bloody 8-time Mr. Olympia. He's in your care and your responsibility, and you got to make sure we're on time for all these different promoters and all these different places and all the travel and the social media and checking in with his wife, and she's asking how's it going, and you got to message her and stay in contact and book hotels and stuff like that. So to kind of to have that, to be honest, it makes it all, aside from the fact the tour went well, to have that, sort of acknowledgement and sort of compliments from Ronnie, it just makes it all worth it.
Cool. Well, I'm glad these are going so well because
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. I've got a new passion now because for a couple of months there, I was a bit like, what now, But and also I needed for the Ronnie tour, the first one back to go well. It's obviously leading on to a lot of others now. Now I've got pros and legends coming to me now instead of me going to them and trying to get a response out of them. Nice. It's like they're coming to me now and saying, "Oh, look, I've heard, I've seen what you've been doing. Can we go?" And I'm like, yeah, because if I genuinely, get on well with them, I mean, because I kind of get on well with just about everyone anyway. There's only one or two that I would definitely not do a tour with, but it's really good. It's giving me a lot of confidence, and I've got a lot of excitement again for what I'm doing and doing stuff like this with you, helping to build your YouTube channel, doing the live stream. I'm really, really happy. I'm really I'm buzzing again now.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate having you as part of this, Giles. You have no idea because
I love it, mate. I love it. Do you know? I thought after global, with the MD thing, I thought, I'm 2 or 3 weeks. I'm going to be climbing the walls. And you know what? I'm not. I'm not saying I'm not going to step back into. I'm in the studio now. I mean, I'm saying I won't step back into doing what I've been doing for the last 5 years non-stop. 5, 6, 7 shows online and editing, filming, producing. Booking and everything that they're doing, the designing thumbnails. It's like I'm not saying I won't go back into that, but right now, my energies are absolutely exploding from doing what I'm doing, and I'm quite. This for me, that 1 hour a week, this is absolutely perfect for me. It gives me a chance to get my voice out and get my opinions, and I guess it helps you. And to be honest, this is doing me right now.
Cool, man. Well, it's making me feel like I'm still connected to the old way that we were doing stuff because I was climbing the walls myself. Believe me.
Yeah. Well, they just me. It's not just me that there's everyone. The old MD group. We're all here to support you and help you get where you want to get. Because the thing is, we've all got a goal that we want you to reach as well. We want to see you succeed, so it's good for everyone.
Cool, man. Appreciate it.
You deserve it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. All right. Well, that's a best good place as any to wrap it up. Giles, I thank you so much. And guys, if you like the content, if you like the channel, it doesn't cost you a darn thing. So please subscribe, like, share, and ring that bell. We love the opportunity to come here and talk with you guys every week about what's going on in the sport and the industry. So please continue watching Power Hour. with myself and Giles Tiger Thomas. And we will see you right here again next time.